Steve Siebold back with mentaltoughnessblog.com. Ego is the enemy of world-class success. In my 30 plus years of business, I've never seen anything take down major players in business like their ego. It's easy to get caught up in it once you have some success. Even the great John Adams, as I said in the written part of this post, the great John Adams, a founding father, one of the founding fathers of America, one of the most important people in the American Revolution, the second president of the United States, even he fell victim to the insidious nature of his own ego, trying to impress people, trying to show off, trying to show people how smart we are, how savvy we are, how rich we are, how successful we are, how attractive we are, whatever, fill in the blank. So my question to you is, on a scale of 1 to 7, 7 being you have full control of your ego, and 1 being your ego is out of control because you've had some success and now you think you're, smarter, faster, stronger, bigger, better than other people. Where do you fall on that 1 to 7 scale? This is a question I had to ask myself in the last couple of years. I kind of reached a crossroad a couple of years ago, had a fair amount of employees, offices all over the world, and really, I was lucky enough to be able to feel like I succeeded in the writing, the book writing business and the speaking business. I'd sold over 1 million copies of my books, and they're in 6 different languages, now 7 languages. And I kind of reached a place where I had enough money, and I had everything. I bought everything I ever wanted to buy, and lived a life, just lived a really cool life, really dream life, like a life you really only see in movies, at least in my neighborhood where I grew up in, And I had to decide whether I wanted to cash it all in and just let it go and just retire at 55, 54, whatever I was at the time, or start something new or expand on the business I was already in, the speaking and writing business. Well, I already felt like I'd done everything, said everything I wanted to say in the writing business and the speaking business. I'd traveled all over the world multiple times. I'd employed over 500 people collectively over the years in my companies. I'd done all the things I dreamed about, in other words. But I thought, well, we're going to, my wife and I are going to retire. And I thought that'd be kind of fun. And then I really started thinking about it. And we went down to see the Villages in Florida. I know everyone laughs at the Villages, but it's genius. The place is brilliant. It's one of the most brilliant things I've ever seen in my life. If you're laughing at the Villages right now, because I'm saying this, go there first and then laugh, because the place is brilliant. I mean, that concept is just pure genius. But anyway, and I started thinking, well, I've made, we've done fine, financially, and, we can do early retirement and all that, and that's good. And then what am I going to do every day? And it started looking less attractive. And so I thought, well, what am I going to do? So long story short, I decided to start a new business and go into the financial services industry, which I had served for many years as a speaker and consultant and writer. I worked for companies like Merrill Lynch and, goes on, Goldman and, JP Morgan and Wells Fargo and, lots of them. And I'd worked all over, the country, mostly the US and Canada in this industry. Anyway, so I had to make this decision. But if I went into it, I had to start from scratch, because while I've written books that have sold over 1 million copies on money, it was always the psychology of money, not money itself. It's a different business, completely. So I had to become the beginner. And I wondered, frankly, if my ego could handle it. Because, when you've been at the top of an industry for 20 plus years and traveled all over the world lecturing on that industry, the speaking industry and the writing industry, where very few people ever make it, and you're lucky enough to have succeeded in both, you're kind of an anomaly. And you're used to being sort of in the top 1% of that industry. And I was, and, really grateful for that. And I had a lot of luck and a lot of help and all the rest of it. So I get that. But I was used to being on top. Well, now I'm in a business where I'm the beginner. The people I'm speaking to and advising and educating are now my teachers of this new business. And I wondered at some points, I'm ashamed to say this. I really am, because it's nothing to brag about. It's actually something really, I thought I was a little above this, but apparently I wasn't. I think I am now. I'm not sure, but I think I am. But I wondered if my ego was really going to be, if I could discipline myself to take my ego down to a healthy place where I could be the beginner again. The person who asks all the questions doesn't have any answers. Just ask the questions. You know, could a multimillionaire in one business go to zero in another business, or just starting out and be the beginner again after that long with, you know, my own ego in check? I wasn't sure, but I wanted to try. And so the last 2 years, that's what I've been doing. I've been learning the intricacies of the financial services business with my great mentor, Mr. Tom Matthews, who I co-authored the How Money Works book with, which of course we've, you know, had unbelievable success. It's sold over around 500,000 copies now. I get lost. It sells thousands of copies every day. And it's just been a great success. We've had a lot of luck and a lot of help with that as well. There's always a lot of help. You never do anything on your own. We say self-made, but that's not really accurate at all. But that being said, so I've been on this journey for 2 years, learning a business that's very, very interesting to me. And I'll tell you the truth, I've been fascinated with the idea of every time my ego wants to go up and I want to have the same thoughts and confidence and self-assuredness of my old business, which I'm still in, just not at the same level, to the new business. I think it's fascinating. And I found myself rising up and then thinking, Steve, you know, you're a beginner here. If you want the big ego, well, then you got to go back, you know, you got to revisit the old business. Then you can say, well, I've done this and I've done that. But here, I'm a raw beginner. And I'll tell you what, it's one of the smartest things I've ever done in my life. Not because of the money I've made doing it or anything else. Even the fun I've had, and I've had a lot of fun, because Tom Matthews, my mentor, is one of the greatest people I've ever met in my entire life. And that includes my own family. He's like family to me. It's like a brother to me. And I've enjoyed it so much because I've had to get on the ground again. You know, when you're making millions of dollars in a business, you don't have to get on the telephone too much. You're getting on the telephone, you're calling the presidents of companies or the regional vice presidents of $50 billion companies, like, you know, I did for 23 years and all that kind of thing. And that's different. I'm talking about getting on the ground and calling people almost cold. I haven't done that in 20 plus years. I don't have to do that anymore. I still don't have to do that, but I'm doing it. And part of the reason I'm doing it is to see if I can. In other words, I know I can pick up the phone. That's easy for me. But can I get past my own ego? And I love the fact that I'm doing it. And so I say all this to ask you, where are you in your success? Because the enemy of world-class success is ego. Most people don't have world-class success. In other words, some of the best results in the whole world in their business. That's a pretty, or the country, depending on if it's an international or national business. That's a pretty big deal. Most people have some success, and then their ego kicks in, and then it holds them down. It literally keeps them from getting on the ground and kicking and scratching and talking to people and being rejected and getting criticized. And because ego kicks in and says, I don't need to do this. And it's happened to me. I've been building this little financial services business and, you know, making some money, but money that won't even pay my taxes, frankly, for a quarter, but still making some money and learning a lot as a beginner. And I've had times where I'm calling people and I'm thinking, I don't need to ever call anyone else the rest of my life. I don't need to listen to people say no to me. I've done all that. I've been through all that. I paid my dues and I made my fortune, and I don't need to do it anymore. But I keep picking up the phone, and I keep going forward, partially because ego is the enemy. It's not a good thing. It's nothing to be proud of to say I don't need to. I mean, I'm glad I don't need to do it, but even that I have any feeling like that is really not anything to be proud of. Because I don't care how successful any of us are, how good looking you are, how rich you are, how successful you are, how great your marriage is, how great your kids are. You're no better and I'm no better than anyone else. It doesn't matter what we have, what we've done, how smart we are, whatever it is that, you know, you were clinging to ego-wise, it doesn't mean anything. And I've learned a lot about that in the last couple of years about myself. And it's been really a fabulous experience. And I would recommend it to you that if you're very successful in an industry, go to another industry and become a beginner and see what goes on in your mind. Because a couple times I'm thinking, I don't need to do any of this. I can just cash in and go away, and I don't have to put up with it. Like the building of any business, but especially when you don't know a business really well. It's very, very interesting. So the enemy of great success is good success. Why? Because of the ego. Because I already think I don't have to get on the ground and kick and scratch and fight and do the things you do when you're brand new. I remember when I started the speaking business 23 years ago, I was an animal. And I will say, my wife Dawn was an animal behind me. I mean, she did all the paperwork, all the contracts, and she still does to this day. And she's brilliant. And without her, there's no way it would have worked for me. No way. It takes a team of people. But we were animals. I mean, I see some people coming up and they're brand new and they're trying to make their way and they're not very tough. We worked night and day. While all our friends were partying in the bars and getting drunk and having fun and do that stuff, all the stuff they did in their 20s, we were working. And I'm really proud of that. The question is then to go back and do it again, is that really worth it? I found it is. And I'll tell you what, maybe more than anything else, as a way to see if I could tame my own ego. I'm not sure I've done it, but I'm working on it. How about you? It's just something to think about. If you're not successful at all, you're probably not dealing with this yet. But when you get successful, and if you're watching this, you're going to be, because you're looking for information, you're looking for techniques and strategies. You're going to be successful. Watch your ego. Be very careful. There's a little book I'd recommend to you. It's called Ego is the Enemy. It's by Ryan Holiday. This book is a really good book. I'd check it out. It's got very few books written on the ego, except on the psychological side. We're not talking about Freud's definition of the ego. We're talking about the ego in the practical world. So this is a long post. Sorry for it being so long. This is a big topic. I'd love to hear your comments on this if you're so inclined. And just have a look at it, because really this is one of the biggest things that can take us down in life and everything else. We're no better than anybody else. It doesn't matter how much we've succeeded or how smart we are or how educated we are. If we went to Harvard or Yale or Stanford, it makes no difference. We're all equal. And the more I think we realize that, the more human we become, the more we connect with people, and the better we feel about ourselves. Something to think about. Thanks for watching the blog. See you next time.